Hey everyone, I thought I'd do a video today about the job hunting process and some tips that may be helpful for some of you guys that find it frustrating when it comes time to look for work, especially younger people that are coming in and don't really know the proper way to look for a job. And if you look online, there's some great information out there, but in reality, I'd say 90% of it or more is geared towards the white collar world. And a lot of the recommendations or the rules of thumb don't really apply to what we do. And it's just not something that is a reality for a lot of us. Perfect example would be like interview attire. I would say if you're going to be a service technician or an installer, you need to make sure you're not coming into an office looking like Larry the Cable Guy, or on the other extreme end of that spectrum, you don't want to go in looking like the Planters peanut on the peanut can with a freaking top hat and a monocle. You're gonna get laughed out of the office in both instances. So we need to keep it right in the middle. For a job like that, what you want to be doing is wearing a clean, put together version of what you'll be wearing on that job. You want to look the part. So I'd say a clean good pair of work boots, clean dark jeans or a Dickies type work pant, a leather belt, and a button down short or long sleeve shirt tucked in. If you have a beard, trim it a little bit, make it neat. And then if you're lucky enough to have hair, go ahead and brush it. I don't really look at myself as having hair loss. I think of it as head gaining. So I always stay positive, guys. But anyways, you'll hear a lot on, like I said, the white collar websites that you'll want to dress for the position that's above you, and in this is one of those cases where that's just not applicable. I mean, it's not something you're going to do. Now, if you're going for service management, sales, something like that from a technician position, yeah, you're gonna dress more business casual or something more formal than a blue collar work uniform. So now that we've got that out of the way, we'll talk a little bit about a resume. I think the most important thing you can get out of this whole thing for your resume is to keep it as short, relevant, and to the point as you can. We'll put it like this. I love apple fritters, right? But if I'm a service manager, I don't give a crap that you worked at Dinky Donuts, for the summer of '98 so you could save up some money for Pokemon cards. You know what I mean? I don't care. And they won't care either. It's gonna waste their time. And usually when an HVAC company is looking for guys, they need them yesterday. So